All right, welcome back. Our next story is on the British Columbia ostrich farm that has been under a cull order from the
Mhm.
Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And we have some political pushback brewing from
Um,
Premiers Danielle Smith out of Alberta and Ontario Premier Doug Ford, which, as I mentioned, at least a broken clock is right twice a day. So this came from their meeting. The premiers and Prime Minister Mark Carney were invited to the Muskokas earlier this week to meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney and discuss all things Canada's trade, energy, and jobs. And they were asked about the ostriches during that press release. And Smith was really, she started off with that she's asked, I guess, her minister, what if this were happening in Alberta, what would they do differently? And Drea, so you wrote this up. So, what are Smith and Ford saying about this issue with the ostriches in BC?
well, first, I want to say if you haven't already got on to the ostrich train, it is a remarkable example of government overreach. And in some ways, like the trucker convoy, not in size, but in spirit, I would say a remarkable example of the grassroots pushback and the momentum it's actually getting. So the CFIA, these birds have been healthy for over 180 days. They tested positive with the controversial PCR test back in December, two dead carcasses. And the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is still hell bent on killing them, even though now they've recovered, of course, from the avian flu, but they are set up and already engaged in prime research when it comes to therapeutics using the antibodies from the eggs to fight the very viruses like COVID-19 and now the avian flu that the government wants us to be so scared about. But much like the rescue jet that the Americans had to send to the Vancouver airport recently to save us before Canada could get ours on the ground, or in the air, I should say. The Americans are trying to save these ostriches in a big way. So if you don't know that, Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Has sent not one, but two letters, first to the head of the CFIA, now to our Minister of Agriculture, saying, hey, listen, let's save these birds. Let's work together on the science. And now in the second letter, and if you don't, just give them to us and we'll take it over. We'll take over all the expenses. So they're seeing the opportunity here. And then you have in this article, which it talks about, you have billionaire grocer John Katsimatidis, I hope I said that right, who is a philanthropist who loves animals, who has been, setting up meetings with Secretary Kennedy as well as Dr. Oz, who's the head of Medicare, and saying, let's get the animals on the ranch. So I just wanted to give everybody that history because this is huge pushback internationally. And now we have our premiers. We actually have a little bit of a clip of, like you said, the broken clock Ford and Premier Smith. Let's play a little bit of it.
Here with Politico. This question is for Smith and Ford. I was speaking with John Katsimatidis regarding the ostrich situation in BC. He had a meeting yesterday with RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz on this matter. He essentially wants the PM to intervene in the case, and he said that he's spoken to both of you on this issue as well. Will you be applying pressure to the PM on this? And do either of you have any issues or any concerns about the federal government's treatment of farmers, particularly in this case?
Well, I have asked my agriculture minister to look into it to see if we had a similar situation in Alberta, what would we be able to do differently? And one of the things that I think is worth looking at is when avian flu went through that herd, it did kill 20% of them, but it didn't kill 80% of them. So maybe there is something to learn from whether there's an immunity or some kind of vaccine that could be developed as a result of having that flock survive. I think that maybe we have to think about different ways to do animal husbandry and animal safety. And why not try a different approach? So I'm open-minded to see if there's any persuasion on that. I gather that the U.S. government is interested in partnering with BC if they wanted to do that. I'd be supportive of that because you can see that this case has really taken on a lot of public sentiment behind it. And if we can find a better way than doing mass culls in any situation like this, I think it's probably worth it to try to find a better way to do it. I don't know if you've got a thought.
Yeah, no, I've talked to John many times about these ostriches. I'm an animal lover, full disclosure, and I want to do everything I can to help him. I think he had a plan to bring him down to Florida as well, to a sanctuary down there. So anything John needs, I'm always there to support him. He's a good man. He cares for animals, and he puts his money where his mouth is too when it comes to making sure that he protects all animals. So, thank you.
Anyways, it's just, I think it's fascinating because, you know, even David Eby, it's becoming nonpartisan, but yet you still have this agency fighting these farmers through now the Court of Appeal to do it. So it really is opening a wide open precedent for farming freedom. All of our reports on that and a way that you can take action in one click. Emails is at savetheostriches.com.
Yeah, it's interesting that the mainstream media is now, you know, paying attention to this and being a little bit more critical, simply by even bringing it up at a press release, completely unrelated to something obviously ostrich related. So that's funny to see. And we have a post here.
Well, it's becoming a trade issue somewhat. So it kind of a little bit, but yeah.
And I guess the trial, the Tamara Leach trial, was actually brought up, and the judge, Ezra just posted about an hour ago, that the judge interrupted the proceedings with a mention that Tamara is helping to, quote, save the ostriches, and that there are some chuckles about that, which the judge loved. And then just the follow up to that, Ezra says, imagine that. We're talking about whether or not a woman will be sent to prison, possibly for 7 years, but the judge is treating the court as an open mic night at the local comedy club. Yeah, it would be laughable if it wasn't so absolutely sad and abysmal that this is the state of affairs on the federal judicial level here in Canada.
It's just so bad. And by the way, by helping
so much,
she performed on the farm. She did not counsel anybody on how to pet quarantined ostriches. So, okay, so calm down.
Oh my gosh. I'm just reading through some of these tweets. Everyone head over to Ezra's Twitter page or X page and read those posts, because my goodness, it just gets insane. I'm so glad he's there covering it, because he gets in there like no one else. And he, as you know, somebody who's trained in law, can dissect and then re-share the remarks and what's happening in the courtroom from a really unique perspective. So I really appreciate that.